welcome to video just number 3 of this week so far, because we had the bank holiday. And how are your legs feeling? If you're doing this one kind of after 2 days of doing the last 2 warrior focused videos, hopefully they're a little bit sore and you might have a little bit of kind of aching in your quads, in your hamstrings, in your glutes from the last 2 days, which is epic. We've managed to get a really good workout in there, and as my treat, this was my grand plan all along, I promise. Today's all about stretching out those places as well. Probably like a lot of people, I'm working from home, so I've had some messages off of people, and especially Elliot, to a little shout out to you there, to say that his hips have been really sore because he's working on a dining room table. You know, the dining room chairs, they aren't supportive as most office chairs, so it's going to be giving us all a little bit more kind of hip and leg ache, especially if we're doing 8 hours a day. So this is going to be a really nice stretch that hopefully you can revisit, and if you want to take a 20-minute break from working from home to do this video on any day, to give your hips and your legs some love, then that's really awesome, and I don't think any employer in the world would have an issue with that. So staying on the floor, staying seated, find a space or come onto your mat for me. We're just going to start in a cross knees position. So we need your right knee crossed in front of your left, just like so. If that's enough for your hips or it feels kind of tight here, you could always elevate your hips by sitting on something. So if you've got like a yoga block or anything to hand, like a big chunky book or a cushion, slide that under your hips. It will feel a little looser in this position. If you want to get more stretch, then we have the option to take the foot either into a little modified half lotus with the foot inside the crease of the knee, or even further into a stretch for a half lotus here, where the ankle sits on top of the knee sits on top of ankle, and then we're flexing the foot, pulling the toes back to protect the kneecap. And just come up and sit nice and tall here. Take a big breath in, roll your shoulders back, use your hands behind you for a moment to sit really tall. And then we're bringing the right arm down by your side a little wider. Take the left arm all the way over into a nice little side bend here. Bringing that arm so that elbows behind the ear, the shoulder and the chest are open. Take a little lean over, exhale breath. And then use your inhale breath just to pull the chest more open. We're going to use the exhale breath to sweep to the other side. Take the arm in front, roll the chest forward, lift right arm. Use left arm to suspend. Exhale, fall deeper. Inhale, wrap ribs under. And go again, exhale, breath over. We're going to take 4 breaths here. I think breathe in, hold. Exhale, sweep. Breathe in, hold. Exhale, sweep. 2 more times. See if your hands can reach a little further in that sweep. Feel the stretch and the movement coming through the upper and lower spine. Lovely. And then release that one off. There. Change your legs over. Swapping. So we have either left foot in front of right, left foot into the crease of the knee, or left foot all the way over right knee, hips and pelvis square on the floor. Get nice and comfy. Using the hands as a little prop behind you. Breathe in, sit tall. Exhale, drop the shoulders. Inhale, take your left hand out by your side. Draw the right arm up and over. Take a moment just to fall into this stretch here. Think about pulling the top shoulder up and round. Exhaling down into the stretch. Inhale, hold. And exhale, take your first big sweep. All the way over with the shoulder. And lift to the other side. Inhale, hold. Exhale, sweep. Lovely work. Go for 4 more there with the breath. You're working on moving as much as you can through your spine. So think hands reach further forward as you sweep. Lovely stuff. I've lost count, but I'm going to go for 2 more. Just as many as feels nice. There should be a really nice rolling action in your hips and in your spine. And on your last one, take your inhale breath up through center. Beautiful. From here, we're going to come into a swan and a pigeon variation. So all I want you to do is leave your right knee where it is, take your left leg and turn it the opposite direction. So you land in this little 90-90 pose. 90-90, it is what it says on the tin. Both knees are at 90 degrees. The hips are grounded on the floor and you're going to be turning over this front knee, your right knee, and leaning forward with us in our swan pose, as if this is enough for your hips. For some people it's going to be. Swan comes into quite an intense stretch. I'm just going to come always up my mat. If you're coming into swan pose, your aim is to get pelvis towards heel. So I'm going to roll off the hips, work pelvis down towards that right heel, and then extend my left leg long along my mat. Option. More lift in the hips is going to feel less intense stretch. If you can take that back leg and that back knee further down your mat and get a little lower, pelvis towards heel, and that's going to feel like a more intense stretch. I want you to place your hands by your hips. Take a big breath in. Roll the shoulders up, back, down, and lift your chest high. See if you can stack here your spine. Shoulders over pelvis. We're growing tall out of this pose. You should feel some lovely length, some lovely stretching going on, all inside and around your pelvis here. Take a big breath in, hold. Take an exhale breath and start to walk your hands forward. You're going to walk this one down as low as feels right for you. And that might be just here on your hands today. It might be a little lower. You can just resting your forearms here. If you make it, you might be able to reach the arms out long and bring the forearms or the forehead to the floor. And just take 5 deep breaths for me. Think about drawing that breath down into your belly and taking the exhale breaths right into the hips to release any tension that you're holding. See if you can just release any kind of squeezing or tightening that you're feeling around your hips, your glutes, maybe the quads. Try and exhale that all away. Let the arms and the forehead feel really heavy, either hanging your head or resting it on the floor. Exhale tension away from the upper back and the shoulders. And then as you draw another inhale breath, just walk the hands back up for me. And set your right hand so it's directly in front of you here. We are going to take this one into pigeon. So the left arm is going to reach all the way back, and as you can see it, you're just going to ping, just like that, your foot into your hand. Now if this is a no-go for you, if your hips and your hamstrings and your quads aren't feeling this, I'm going to encourage you to come back into that 90-90 option. And here with the hips down, we can again take a hold of the back foot, pull it in towards the glutes, and turn the shoulders to the front of the mat. You're still with us on the cues. Everybody else that's up here in pigeon, try and get a hold of the inside of your foot, and then aim to turn your shoulders and your pelvis forward towards your mat. Cool? Breathe in, hold. You've got 5 big deep breaths here. Here's some cool options. Tighten up the hold on that foot, draw the heel in towards the butt. Balance challenge. See if you can float your front hand off the floor and lift it into the air. Good, really nice. Last little challenge today is our bind. So if you can and if it feels right, see if you can work that back foot into the crease of your elbow. Do not worry if you're nowhere close to this one. It's a real advanced move here for this stretch. On our binded pigeon, we're going to take the top hand over the top, behind the head, interlace the fingers, and enjoy that stretch. Give me one last big deep breath in. Wherever you are, just exhale a little bit of tension out of the hips. Enjoy this lovely stretch. And release it all back off down to the floor. Allow your hips to ground. Keep tucking the right knee in. This time, just as we take our seat here, the right knee stays tucked, foot in towards inner thigh, left leg stays out long. Take a big breath in and reach your left arm as far down that inner part of the left foot as you're willing to go. Might be shin, might be ankle, might be foot. Breathe the the right arm up to the ceiling. Find a little length and expansion in the chest. And then exhale, take the arm all the way overhead. Fall into that little side bend here. Should be giving your hips a little bit of a rest after that intense swan and pyramid stretch. And just feeling a really nice opening in your rib cage and your waist. A lot of the times we can kind of forget and neglect stretching the top of the pelvis into this waist, lower back area, which is also going to get tight if you're kind of hunched over a computer or a laptop. Take a big breath in, take this top arm, reach it all the way up and plant it behind you, just behind the hip, hand flat to the floor. And then if it's enough, again, you're going to sweep the left arm over the head and work on lifting the chest, squeezing the hips forward. If you can, we come into a little spiral twist where the hips come off the floor, the top arm sweeps back, and we take a little look down that back arm towards the hand on the floor. Squeeze the butt, find tension in your hamstrings to push the hips forward and let them open. Breathe in, hold. Exhale, lower, back down, release, relax there. Beautiful. Changing sides. We're going to swap over here into our opposite side swan pose. So all I've done is come back into that little 90-90 position, but this time it's the left knee and the left calf that's in front of you on the floor. Again, if this is enough, you're aiming to turn the hips and pelvis so you're almost pointing the same direction as your knee, and lift your chest. If we can, then I want you to roll hip off the floor, roll front of the pelvis towards the heel, and take that back foot, that back leg as long behind you as you want to go. Walk the hands up and in. Stack the spine and the shoulders over the pelvis. Breathe tall. Think about lengthening out the spine here, lifting your rib cage away from your hips, extending your height. Lovely. Your next big breath in. Use the exhale to walk the hands forward and take them into your lovely extended swan. We're going to hang out here for at least 5 big breaths. Quite a long time just to settle into this stretch. Hands, forearms, or forehead to the floor, wherever feels right for you. If you can push this one, see if you can take your back kneecap a little further away. See if you can reach your fingertips a little further forward. And then think 5 deep breaths to work on exhaling away all of that unnecessary tension. Exhale away from your shoulders. Exhale away from your upper back and your waist. Exhale, release the tension in the glutes and the hips. Enjoy that lovely feeling of release that's going through the back of the hips and pelvis. Take a breath in to draw your hands back up, back towards the shin. And setting left hand in front of you for balance. Open up the right arm, heel to butt, draw it in, into our pigeon pose. Again, you've totally got the option to ground this one, back into 90-90, heel into butt, and as you pull it in and turn your shoulders, you're going to get this one where we want it, moving through your hip flexor and your quad. If you're lifted, we have options. Start by turning the shoulders. Feel a pull here, all the way into that front delt as well. See if you can draw some tension in through your belly button. Core switches on as we balance and lift the top arm. If you can, and your foot and your elbow are slippery enough, slide that foot into the elbow crease and go for the bind behind the head. Inhale, hold. Exhale, keep releasing those hips down. Inhale, hold. Find some sense of enjoyment here. We're not forcing these stretches. They are doing your body good. Inhale, hold. And exhale, release. Relax. Ground your hips, take a little seat. Just keep the right leg out long, left knee tucked in. And the right hand comes down as low as feels right for you on that right leg. If you can make it to the hand, if you can make hand towards foot, then do so, but don't worry how low you go here. Breathe in, find length through those fingertips. Exhale, take the top arm and just drop it and lay it over the head without folding forward, without collapsing at the chest. Think breathe the top elbow up. Think exhale, wrap your ribcage under, so you're really turning your body open in this stretch. Use the exhale just to drop a little lower towards the thigh. Inhale, hold. Exhale, go. Inhale, draw that top arm up and back. Plant it behind you, hand just outside the hip. Take the right arm, sweep it overhead. Initiate movement by lifting chest and breastbone, squeeze the butt, and then take our contra stretch here. So contra stretch, we are squeezing the back of the body in order to stretch the front of the body. Think tension in the glutes and the hamstrings. Push off that back hand and then go a little further into that spiral twist. Take your eye gaze down the back arm. Take your hand further overhead. Inhale, stay. Exhale and lower. Wonderful. Got one more little seated pose here for you. So, contra stretch again. You're going to take your legs into a wide box split. Now this box split is as wide as your body will let you go. So even if you're here and you want to stay with an elevated hip position, if it's a little more comfy, then again use a yoga block, use a book, use a cushion, slide it under your hips now. Keep the feet as narrow as feels good for you, or as wide as feels stretchy for you. Hands behind the back. Just take a moment again to sit really tall in this box split. Breathe the chest up. Exhale the shoulders back. And lift the breastbone to the ceiling with a little more weight into your hands. Option is to stay here, and I just want 3 deep breaths, focusing on again extending the spine, pulling your ribcage up and away from your hips. Contra stretch. If you make it, we're just going to ground those hands to the floor behind us, fingertips turn out. Point the toes to create that little tension in the legs, and then squeeze the hips off the floor, lift up and hold for 3. Squeeze the butt, find more openness in the hips. 2. And slowly lower. Keeping the hips in the same position, maybe just readjust the sit bones out behind you if you need to. Start to fold. Hands to floor in front of you, or fingertips, and chin on chest, arch and curl the back. Here you stay, if this is enough. All I want you to do from there is, no matter how low you're getting, use your exhale breaths to find more. So when your hands are as far in front of you as you can go, so you've got a little bit of a reach in the arms, then inhale, hold. Exhale 1 more centimetre. Inhale, hold. Exhale, fingertips just a little further forward, walk them up your mat. Inhale, hold. Exhale, sink. And find that maximum range. Inside of that maximum range, to give your inner thigh and your hamstrings a little bit of a, well, I don't know why I used the word level there, a very big stretch here, but then we're just going to use a little bit of stretch reflex contraction. So think about your toes. Can you point your toes in this position? Can you squeeze up your quads, squeeze your glutes? Squeeze and contract your legs as hard as possible for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax the feet, let them turn up, let the toes pull back. Exhale, go a little bit further. See if you can get lower through the next 2 times through. Inhale, point the toes and squeeze. Hold and squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, release and go. Chest towards floor. 1 more time here. Inhale, point, 4, 5, contract, squeeze, 2, 1. back out of that one. Hands moving up towards the hips. Use a little bit of help if you need to bring your legs back in. Give them a little wobble and a little shake out. Just bend your knees up in towards you for a moment and then hold on to them as you take a little lie down onto the floor. Lie your body down here. Relax. Maybe give a little windscreen wiper of the knees, dropping them from one side to the other. Just to release off those hips again a little bit more. Even this in itself is just a wonderful movement for your hips and your lower back if you are sitting down a lot. And then for your last stretch today, we're just going to target in towards the back of the glutes. Take right foot, cross the right ankle over the left knee, and then push that right knee out towards the floor, away from your body. You should feel here just a real gentle, light stretch up the hip flexor. We can intensify this a little bit by taking a hold of the ankle, drawing it a little higher up onto the quad, and then really using the left hand to using your right hand to push your right knee away. You should get that one nicely into hip flexor. Hold there. Breathe in. Exhale, push away. Breathe in, relax the head, neck and shoulders. Exhale, push the knee away. And then by releasing the hands, keeping your feet and your knees as they are, you're going to take the right hand through the gap in your legs, and you're going to use the left hand to either interlace here behind the knee, slightly gentler, around the front of the knee or the shin, slightly more. Hug it into you with a big breath in. And then exhale, see if you can relax your shoulders, your head back down onto the floor and hold there. Awesome stretch for the back of the glutes, the back of the hips. We're allowing that knee to be open, so we got a little bit of work into those internal hip rotators. But all that kind of tension and bad stuff that's going to be building in the lower back and the back of the hips from being sat down or hunched in the spine, it's just getting a chance to release itself here. Exhale, lower the foot back onto the floor, release that right knee down, and then do exactly the same thing with the left. So we're going to cross ankle over knee and drop the knee away to get this gentle stretch in the hip. Slightly more, if you want to feel it a little more intensely, draw that knee higher up your thigh in towards the pelvis, and then use left hand to really drive that knee away from you. Inhale, hold, relax the upper body. Exhale, push it away. Inhale, hold. And it's absolutely fine in yoga sometimes to use your hands to really push your body into these places and push these stretches when they're here and they're not so intense. When we get into things like that wide leg forward fold and frog pose and bits and pieces like that, when we're feeling these stretches really intensely, that's when we try and relax. We don't want to push anything too far. When you're ready to release the hands, left hand comes in that little gap, right arm comes around, and you've got the option to take the less intense back of the knee or around the front of the shin if you can. Inhale, give me a big squeeze in, hug the knees. Exhale, ooh, I took a little roll there. Exhale, let it go. Back of the head to the floor, back of the shoulders to the floor. See, if I was a perfectionist, I'd refilm this whole video now because I did that. But no, that's not real life. You guys need to know that I also very often fall out of yoga poses with not a lot of grace at all. Exhale, just think about really releasing and relaxing the shoulders towards the floor, relaxing the back of the head. Draw that knee in a little closer towards your chest for more stretch, and then think about exhaling away the tension in your hips. press them down. Maybe give them another little windscreen wiper there, just to release that big old glute stretch. And by hugging the knees into the chest, give yourself a little roll on up to seated. How do your legs feel now? I'm going to ask you again. After the last 2 days of warrior and then that big old stretch, they should be in a way better position. So I really hope you enjoyed that one. It's nice to kind of chill out, take it a little bit slower. There's some big stretches in there, things like the bind in the pigeon, trying to get those fingertips together, epic things to work on whilst we've got all this time at home. So you'll see them again, don't worry, and I will see you all tomorrow. Take care everybody, lots of love, bye bye.